Hi, cats and kittens. It's Amy from Savor Salvage Scent, and I hope this finds you in a great space. Today, I come to you to talk to you about my Guerlain Perfume collection. Before I dive in, just a hearty hello to everyone watching. First, to those who are new to the channel, thank you so much. This mostly focuses on all things fragrance and perfume related, with an occasional other creative or DIY project. And to those of you returning, thank you so much for keeping the conversation going. If you all enjoy this content, it would mean the world to me if you would give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, if you would click the red subscribe button to stay in touch, this really, really helps my channel. A quick idea. Um, I am coming up on my, 50th birthday in late July, and I will be doing a couple giveaways leading up to that. The first being a giveaway centered on the Shalimar collection within my Guerlain collection. Um, and if you're interested in learning more, you have to be a subscriber to be considered. I will choose literally kind of a name out of a hat from those of you who enter, and all you have to do is put a comment in the below in the comment section and tell me what interests you in Guerlain and particularly in Shalimar. And I will, if you are in the US or Canada, I will send you a little selection of decants from all the different Shalimars that I own. Okay, so diving in, I thought I would share with you my Guerlain collection. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I have been a perfume collector for probably about, I mean, I have been interested in perfume since my late teens, but I would say I really started collecting about 20 years ago, 22 years ago, something like that. And I got really serious about it about, I would say, 10, 15 years ago. Um, Guerlain is one of the oldest perfume houses and has been around since, I want to say, 1828, I think. So quite a long time, almost 200 years. It is one of the oldest houses still in existence, a French house, and I thought I would share with you my collection. I'll just say, while it is a substantial part of my overall perfume collection, I think I have around 40 bottles here. It obviously there are tons that I don't own. I was actually kind of preparing for this video looking at the long list of all the Guerlains ever created. It's actually quite stunning to see how many are out of commission over this almost 200 years. And I would say, for those of you who don't know, I am a nonprofit worker, and so I don't have the biggest budget in the world. I have collected, I would say Guerlain was the focus of my collecting for a long time. I just love the house so much. I'll get into that a little bit later. But all to say, this is a substantial part of my collection, probably about 10 or 15% of it. Focused on it for a long time. However, there are many, many more that I could or would like to own or try at least. But I'll just give you an idea of what it looks like. You'll see there are two cabinets behind me that have some of my collections in them, some vintage hats and handbags, and then also perfumes. I will do a tour of all my perfumes eventually, but this is my Guerlain tray, just to give you an idea. And I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about these from some of the oldest in my collection to the newer ones. I'm not going to go into every nose. I'm not going to go into every note. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each, why I like them perhaps, what I think of them, and I welcome any questions you might have. So, diving in. Again, really old perfume house. It had been in members of the Guerlain family, or with members of Guerlain family for a very long time until I want to say like the late or mid to late 90s. And then I believe the company was purchased by the overarching company of Louis Vuitton. So a French house. It's considered, again, one of the oldest houses, and creating some of the oldest fragrances of like true like chemical, like perfumery. Yeah. So obviously, people have been making perfumes or perfume-like things for a very long time, much, much longer than that. But I would say they're one of the most well-known earliest houses to create compositions and collections. So that's my take. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna dive right in, oldest to newest. So the first, the oldest perfume I have is L'air Bleu. This is not the oldest version of it. L'air Bleu, I believe, originally came in one of their older Baccarat crystal bottles that kind of looked like this. But this is my version. It's in this really cool, in the, I want to say 70s, 80s, 90s. I think they might even still sell them. Sold these really cool kind of like flasks that you could buy inserts for. And so you can kind of buy the insert and then put it in this beautiful, I just love this case so much. L'air Bleu has been made since 1912, which is just incredible. This, I think, is probably one from like the 70s or 80s. Yeah, gorgeous thing. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about it. First I'll say Guerlain had this really, really productive period, I would say, in the 1910s through like the 30s, like just crazy productive. I mean, they've been in production since then, but then they had a really productive period, I would say, from like the 60s through like the 90s, and then even recently, in recent years, they've come out with some new things, and I'll talk about those. So, L'air Bleu, named after the Blue Hour, which was considered by one of their Guerlains that beautiful time between dusk and when the sun goes down. And the quote I read was, "When the night has not yet found its stars." This was created just about, I think, about 2 years before World War One. To me, this has a very melancholic scent, and I'll talk about what that means to me. And first of all, I'll just say, without sounding full of myself, I have L'air Bleu on this wrist, and I have Mitsouko on this wrist today. It's a rainy day where I live. I find these both to be incredible scents in the rain. And I can't even tell you how good these smell today. And actually, Mitsouko has challenged me at times. Today is the first day I wore it, and I was like, this is freaking incredible. So anyway, I'm wearing L'air Bleu on one of my wrists. And what I get from this is a kind of like powdery, anisey floral. It has a little bit of violet, a little bit of iris, amber. So I should say that Guerlain, like some of the older houses, kind of created this DNA. So originally they literally called it Guerlainade. And I believe in the beginning it had, oh gosh, I want to say like amber, vanilla, and either iris or violet. But those things make, I find a lot of Guerlain perfumes to be powdery. I love powdery perfumes, but for some modern, I would say, perfume wearers, they're not crazy about powder, so that can be like a polarizing thing around the house. But very intentionally, they created kind of like a DNA, even if it was a really small amount, even like 1% or 0.5%, running through all of their creations for a certain amount of years. But I think still there are times, and I think this is what makes a great perfume house sometimes, you can smell even a modern, you could smell a Guerlain, let's say from the 20s, and you could smell a Guerlain from as recent as the last few years, and I think there are things that are similar. You can tell to me that it's a Guerlain. So my oldest, L'air Bleu, beautiful, beautiful thing. So next I will talk about Mitsouko. This is a favorite of many, I would say favorite or famous people, I apologize. People that come to mind are Charlie Chaplin, Anais Nin, who am I forgetting? Somebody else. Anyways, really incredible people have worn this over time, including my friend Selena. Hi. And first of all, just look at how gorgeous this bottle is. This is not that far off from the original bottle that was created in 1919. So where L'air Bleu was pre-World War I, this is post. just after. Um, I don't know if you can see the label, but very like Asian influence. In fact, I think Japanese influence based on the name. Really, really gorgeous. Um, this is also somewhat powdery, but also has the things that stand out most to me are peach, kind of like bergamot and citrus, definitely oak moss, and then a little bit of like amber and spice. For those of you who don't know, I believe you should wear any perfumes that you like, no matter who they're marketed to. I wear men's perfume a lot of the time, but I would say this to me is a real gender bender. I think a lot of people see it as a woman's perfume. I beg to differ. This to me is so perfectly unisex and has been worn, like I said, by Charlie Chaplin and Anais Nin. I mean, there you go. Incredible. I find this to be one of the more challenging Guerlains, but like I said, I kind of had a breakthrough today on this rainy day. Like, I can't believe it has never smelled better to me. And it could be also that I just bought this bottle a few years ago and maybe it's kind of settled a bit. I don't know. But Mitsouko, just beautiful, beautiful. One of the oldest made by Guerlain. So next I'm going to talk about all of my Shalimar because I'm sure a lot of you know Shalimar is one of the most best-selling perfumes. It might be the top 3 or 4, like with like Chanel No. 5 and things like that. A lot of people will just, even who don't love perfume, will recognize these bottles from being on their, ancestors or their people's vanities or dressers. So first, Shalimar was created. It was created in 1921, and so it's 100 years old this year. It wasn't released until 1925. I think they were caught up in some kind of issue around the name. I'm going to link below a whole video about my Shalimar collection, so you can learn more if you'd like about the background, how it's named, that kind of thing. But this was, again, first created about 100 years ago. This was considered, so this is a really vintage bottle of the pure perfume. These are originally in Baccarat crystal bottles, and they came in these beautiful, like, felted, kind of velvety purple encasements or little boxes, really beautiful. So this is a really old bottle that I have that I just dab once in a while. It's incredible. Because it's so old, it's gotten like more ambery, and it's just crazy good. I can't even tell you how good it is. Look at antique stores. This is one that's still pretty easy to find as a vintage because so many people wore it. This was one of the most, and continues to be one of the most popular perfumes. It was a favorite among the flappers. It was considered a bad girl perfume. Part of that was it has these smoky elements that I think really held up to like cigarette smoke in the clubs back in the day, the jazz clubs. But these are the kind of original Shalimars. This is the old bottle, and this is kind of today's version of the perfume. Then there were also colognes created over time, kind of different versions. I'm pretty sure that this label has come off. This is an old one. This is one of the old, really amazing versions of the cologne. Again, I'm going to link my video about this below because I will also talk about the differences between all of them. And then there are like many modern flankers or kind of versions of or spins off of Shalimar. I would say the more modern ones do not smell exactly like, I mean, some of them really are kind of, what would I say, departing from the original idea. Not this one. This is Eau de Shalimar. I don't think this is made anymore. To me, this is a really kind of summery version and definitely swings even more. I would say these are all unisex, but this even swings more male to me. Freaking love it. And then the flankers that I own are the Souffle Intense. Really ambery, benzoin-y, vanilla-y, but definitely more modern. Doesn't smell exactly like the smoky kind of powdery version of the old one. Take that and then add a lot of citrus and you'll get the Lumiere version. This I think just went out of commission but can still be found. So if the lemony version, really bright lemony, kind of candied lemon actually, appeals to you, you might want to look for this now. I don't know if you can see all of these, even the old ones say Guerlain Paris on the blue top. They're just so beautiful. These are supposed to look like kind of like funerary urns, I believe. And then this is, they make a flanker, I think, every year or two that has a different spin. And this is one that is like Fleur d'Oranger version. Beautiful bottle again. So those are, I think, almost all of my Shalimars. So next, and I feel like this is a Guerlain that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I adore it. This is Chamade. This is an old tester bottle. And I have this old mismatched cap on it. But this is what the original bottle looked like. It's just beautiful. It's supposed to look like a heart and an arrow, and it says, I don't know if you can see Chamade on this, on the arrow part, and then on the bottom. This is, so take that powdery kind of Guerlain, oh my God, it smells so good, DNA, and then to me, you add a little grassiness. It's got a little bit more of like, yeah, it definitely has a grassy, powdery, floral feel, and then add a little bit of clove, and to me that kind of smells like carnation, and I'm a carnation freak. So Chamade, if somebody had to make me rate my top 3 Guerlains, this would be a top 3. Like I love Chamade, and hardly anybody talks about it. You can still buy it too. It's been slightly reformulated, but you can still, it comes in like modern, like what they call the B bottles now. So that was created in 1969. All right, next on the list is, where is it? All right, this little pretty. So these are the bee bottles. You can probably see they're actual bees. They look like a bee kip even. Or wait, is it skip? Guys, don't judge me. I'm sorry. And this is called Jardin de Bagatelle. And so it's named after a famous, beautiful, beautiful French garden, expansive, gorgeous thing. And guess what? That's what it smells like. Actually, it smells like a chic, elegant, richy rich interpretation of, these are a lot of yellow and white florals. Oh my gosh, with a little bit of green. It just smells like class to me. It's opulent. It is so gorgeous. This you can, it's still in commission, and you can find for a steal. I want to say, like, I paid like 20 something for this bottle. Jardin de Bagatelle. Amazing. All right. That was, if I didn't mention, created in 1983. All right. Next on the list, my beloved Samsara. This is kind of an old version of the cologne, or the EDT, sorry, eau de toilette. And this is the more modern version of the perfume. And now they have created it in the bee bottles. This was first released in, what year is it? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. 1989. Year I graduated high school. This was one of the first, I mean, absolute crazy loves for me as far as perfume. My sisters had purchased a few perfumes for me when I was a young teen. So like things from Crabtree and Evelyn that I loved, Ralph Lauren, the one in the red bottle. Let me think, some other like Bonnie Bells and things like that. And I loved them all. I'm not mocking any of them. Loved them. But this was probably the first perfume where I went crazy for it. And I was like, this smells like what I want to smell like. And it smells like a world I want to live in. I remember buying this in the cold, cold, cold winter in Wisconsin with some of my family. And truly that whole day being like, I tried it in a store, and I remember being out in the cold and just being like, I could not stop smelling my wrist. This to me is just perfection. Like it's strong, it's incredible, it's everything I love in a perfume. It's kind of like classified as, they call it like an amber woody fragrance. Some people would call it oriental. I have an issue with that term a bit. We'll talk about that another time. But I, only because of the way, anyways, it's kind of derived. I'm a total Asiaphile, so that is not my issue. But all that being said, Samsara to me is not only just a kind of woody, ambery thing, it also has a ton of jasmine in it, and it's just deep and dark and seductive and sultry and gorgeous, and what I would imagine, God, I don't know, it just smells ripe and amazing. Yeah, Samsara. I'm crazy about it. This might be my number one Guerlain. It's just, it's such a love. Yeah, anyways. And I went to their flagship shop for Guerlain is on the Champs-Elysees. And I went to Paris a few years ago, and there's a wonderful experience. You walk in the door, and you can sniff a bunch of the perfumes without knowing what they are at first, and then you can look them up. I must have smelled over 100 perfumes that day, and I could have taken any home. I loved them, but out of all those perfumes, I was crazy about, like, had to purchase 3 of them. So I looked the 3 up, and don't you know, one of them was Samsara, which I'd been wearing for years. And I was like, yeah, I am that crazy about it. The other 2 I took home with me. So Samsara, just crazy about it. Okay, next is one named after the Champs-Elysees. So again, the beautiful boulevard where their shop is. This is